masters, some 700 or so of them who were convicted for stealing money or theft or wrongful accounting.
Hamas's leaders had done that.
Online a Net4 Pluszon éjjel 1-kor kezdődik a szép.
All of these additional measures in terms of trying to hold Fujitsu, trying to hold the post office to account, are all also putting the government under pressure to take additional action.
Absolutely right. And Amanda, while I've got you, as we said, we've been watching Lord Cameron be grilled, really, by the... been made clear in the past sort of half an hour of his answers that he is concerned.
饕餮应该是一个非常具有代表性的，所以
一样，你不能。
Around 2 months ago, bringing him back after, of course, he resigned as Prime Minister after the Brexit referendum. And this is actually the first time that MPs have had the chance to hold him to account for his priorities in that role, the decisions he's making as Foreign Secretary, because in order to give him that role, of Lords, but it's still only on a couple of occasions. This is the first time that he's actually being questioned by MPs, and it can only happen in an environment such as the Foreign Affairs Select Committee that he is today. It was meant to happen in December, but that got postponed because he ended up having to go to a funeral of an emir in Kuwait. So a lot riding on this moment, and the MPs clearly have got a huge amount to ask him about. And as you say, the initial focus of the past hour or so really has been about the UK's response to the conflict in Israel. And one of the big questions that I think many of the MPs on that committee have been really building up to is the question of whether David Cameron, as Foreign Secretary, has seen or received advice from UK government lawyers suggesting that Israel has international humanitarian.
Exports. So that's why I don't. So if you put it that way, I'm happy to say yes, of course. Every day I look at what's happened and ask questions about, is this in line with international humanitarian law? Could the Israelis have done better to avoid civilian casualties? Of course I do that.
Now, it's interesting, David Cameron is very much regarded as a smooth political operator. Many people see that as one of the reasons that, under pressure, Rishi Sunak brought him back into the cabinet. But I think certainly we are seeing him under real pressure from the questioning from the MPs on this committee, cross-party MPs, but also from the chair, Licia Kearns, who is a Conservative herself. And indeed, he also faced a real challenge repeatedly on the question of whether or not Israel had occupied Gaza. Again, this was something that he didn't really want to be drawn into, but eventually he did say, well, it is a de facto occupation of Gaza. And he said there are therefore issues around he was concerned about how much aid was getting into Gaza, and he had big questions. A little bit not particularly sure-footed on the question of British hostages. He was clearly concerned what he could and couldn't say about this, acknowledging that there are 2 hostages, British nationals, who are held by Hamas in Gaza, but couldn't comment, he said, on their status. He didn't know whether they were alive or not, and then also seemed to get into a bit of a muddle about how many others had already been released.